In Ottawa, Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled a new cabinet of 28 ministers and 10 secretaries of state. Key members include Anita Anand as Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dominic LeBlanc focusing on Canada-US trade, and David McGuinty as Minister of Defence. The new cabinet promises to address the ongoing US trade war, with Carney also emphasizing his commitment to increasing defence spending. To discuss what the new cabinet structure and appointments could spell for Canada's national security and defence, we're joined by CDA Institute Board Member and former National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, our very own Vincent Rigby. Vincent, it's great to have you on again. Thanks.
Mark Carney, the newly elected Prime Minister, recently announced his cabinet. I'm wondering if you can discuss what you think the cabinet appointments might imply about areas of focus and what the structure, which includes now 10 secretaries of state, might also imply about the direction the government's going in on the defense and security files.
Well, as you say, Josh, I think that, we didn't have a full-up debate around defense and foreign policy during the election campaign. It was very focused in terms of international relations on the Canada-U.S. relationship. But still, defense came up in that context, given U.S. pressure to get up to 2% of GDP spending on defense and other issues related to broader national security, border security, all those kinds of things. So I thought that the Liberal campaign was pretty clear that it wanted to make a greater commitment to national defense. They were very clear that they had a number of equipment purchases that they wanted to pursue. Prime Minister Carney has made it clear that he wants to get to 2% of GDP by 2030. So it's a pretty ambitious program. Lots of stuff needs to get done. And I think what we're hearing from Prime Minister Carney is he wants to get stuff done fast, very fast. So I think he's appointed cabinet ministers who are going to be given their marching orders and told to get moving and to proceed expeditiously. And I think in that respect, his selections in sort of the defense, foreign policy, public safety, these are ministers who I think bring a little bit of experience, at least on the defense and foreign policy side. David McGuinty, I think, is a very solid choice. A longtime MP, only recently became a cabinet minister for public safety. He's now been moved over to national defense. I think as the chair of the National Security Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians for 6 or 7 years. I worked very closely with him when I was National Security Intelligence Advisor. He has a good overall sense of the national security realm. His committee did at least 1 or 2 reports directly related to national defense, mainly on the intelligence side, but he'll have a good, solid understanding of how defense works. So it's nice to see somebody go in there with a little bit of experience, and that'll be helpful. And the same with Minister Anand on the foreign policy side. She was the defense minister, and she's got some experience on the procurement side as well, especially in the context of COVID. So she's moving over to foreign affairs. And I think that defense experience, especially on the international side, will stand her in good stead. I also think it was very interesting that they appointed a Secretary of State for defense procurement, Steve Fuhr, who's a former Air Force guy. And that's a very interesting appointment. I think it shows that the government is committed to improving defense procurement. They've already announced that they're going to establish a defense procurement agency. They want to get moving on procurement reform, and they also want to move specific capital projects, I think. So there's some good signs there, some really good signs. It's the proof's going to be in the pudding. We'll see how fast they proceed. We've seen lots of other governments come in the past who've said lots of good things about defense, and they're going to reform procurement and get moving on all this. But there's an added urgency now. In addition to a very complicated international security situation, you've now got the U.S. dimension, and so I think it will be incumbent upon the government to really move. And as I say, it seems like that's where Prime Minister Carney is.
Thanks, Vincent. Aside from the threat of Trump, which we've been talking about for many months now, what do you think are some of the immediate challenges facing the cabinet? And from your experience, what might you suggest to the incoming cabinet as well on the defense and security files?
Well, listen, I'd like to see the government set the strategic context for defense, foreign policy, national security. So much is happening in the world, so rough and tumble, so many complexities, so many nuances. As I said, a new layer added in the last 6 months with Trump, but the world was already a pretty chaotic place. We've had 2 defense strategies in the last 7-8 years, 2017, and then again the update in 2024, but we've had no national security strategy. As I've said many times before, for 20 years, we've had no foreign policy for a statement for 20 years. So I thought it was very interesting that the Liberals said during the campaign, we're going to do a foreign policy review and we're going to come up with a new national security statement. I think they need to put an urgent tag on those two, before they start moving helter-skelter on this, that, or the other specific projects, foreign policy initiatives. Defense needs to be nestled inside a broader national security strategy, and it also needs to be nestled inside a broader foreign policy strategy. What is our foreign policy? What are we going to do on the world stage? Defense does lots of stuff at home, but obviously they've still got expeditionary capability as well. So how are you going to use the Canadian Armed Forces overseas to support our foreign policy and to support our broader national security? So nice to see those commitments. Let's move ahead and get them done. I thought it was really great to see that the Prime Minister reestablished the National Security Council. As you know, when he first became Prime Minister, he combined the Canada-US Cabinet Committee with the National Security Council. I didn't think that was a very good idea, but I understood that given the short time frame before the election, he was trying to have as slim down a cabinet system as possible. But reconstituting that National Security Council, I think, will be absolutely critical in forging ahead with a new national security strategy and with a foreign policy review as well. So it'd be nice to see that stuff get up and running.